Donald Trump himself, you say the whole team, but is he agitated, exercised by it? Have you spoken to him about it?
I never disclose private conversations I have with Donald Trump. That's why he likes me and trusts me. But I have spoken to very senior members of his incoming cabinet team. And
so Marco Rubio, people like that.
They are horrified.
Horrified?
Horrified.
Why?
Because they know that China has extraordinary naval ambitions. We see that literally every month in the South China Sea as they encroach on new territories, they try and reclaim atolls. And the trouble with this deal is, well, number one, it's totally unnecessary, but and there is no basis in international law that we have to do this that stands up. But the worry is that it's a 99-year lease. Sounds great, but we had a 50-year deal with China over Hong Kong. That unraveled.
During his recent live performance, Nigel Farage stunned the entire audience, leaving the audience in complete awe. The presenter, who was ready to ask him tricky questions, was completely unprepared for Farage to change the rules of the game. His sharp and confident answers literally stunned the interviewer, who was clearly confused. Farage did not seek excuses and did not hesitate for a moment. His courage and confidence were so strong that he completely took over the conversation like a true master. Especially memorable was the moment when the presenter tried to catch him on questions about relations with Donald Trump. Instead of evading, Farage confidently defended his actions, leaving no room for doubt. The presenter's attempts to regain control of the situation looked pathetic and hopeless. Farage's answers were so precise and convincing that it felt as if he had anticipated every move of his opponent, like a chess player who is always one step ahead. It wasn't just an interview, it was a real spectacle, full of tension and emotions.
I spent many hours in Parliament. Yesterday I gave my maiden speech, and I was in today, of course, for the first Prime Minister's questions, the big, great piece of theatre that is, I mean, really, let's be honest about it, quite a global sensation. What have I noticed so far in the Parliament? Well, I have to tell you, I reckon it is between 85 and 90% Remainers. I reckon it's over 50% rejoiners. I mean, they would literally rejoin the European Union tomorrow. And if you even mention or dare to mention legal or illegal immigration, they look at you, they raise their eyes as if you're spoiling a really rather convivial dinner party. So I don't actually think our electoral system, our first past the post system, is giving us really an especially balanced parliament that represents the...
The audience was absolutely delighted, unable to contain their emotions, and social networks literally exploded with a flurry of rave reviews, calling this performance iconic and worthy of mention in the history books. The news agencies unanimously recognized him as one of the most memorable interviews of the year. Regardless of whether you love Farage or hate him, his dominance was so obvious that it was impossible to ignore him. The interview took a stormy and exciting turn when the presenter dared to touch on the topic of Nigel Farage's relationship with Donald Trump. Instead of evading the question, Farage boldly defended Trump, openly declaring his support. He passionately explained how Trump's policies have strengthened global markets and put national interests first, making clear why he considers Trump a powerful ally for Britain. When the host asked a question about his public appearances with Trump, Farage did not flinch or lose his head. With fire in his eyes, he emphasized the importance of relations between the United Kingdom and the United States, emphasizing that strong ties with America bring significant benefits to Britain, which many do not even realize. The presenter's attempt to present this as a controversial moment failed miserably, as Farage effortlessly turned the conversation to the importance of strong leadership on the world stage, leaving everyone completely delighted with his confidence and charisma.
Maybe mend some fences between this government and the incoming presidency of Donald Trump's, given that the whole of his cabinet have been so rude about him over the last few years.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see the honourable member making a rare appearance back here in Britain. He spent so much time in America recently. I was half expecting to see him on the immigration statistics when we see the next batch. But he may have missed. I did congratulate the incoming president last week.
It's not just a matter of providing information. It's a matter of trust, which is so necessary in our time. People are tired of feeling that they are being forced into pre-prepared speeches devoid of sincerity. Farage's unconventional approach fills his words with personal meaning, as if he is addressing every ordinary Briton, looking into his very soul. Regardless of whether they agree with him or not, they feel that he is telling the truth, and this has become a real rarity in our political climate. Farage's sincerity could not have gone unnoticed. All over the UK, people are discussing how collected and thoughtful he was during the interview. Many viewers are delighted to note that if more politicians behaved with the same poise and clarity, our country could become a much better place. Farage's approach stands out vividly from the rest. While others shy away from difficult questions, he boldly and openly discusses them, earning respect even from those who disagree with him. Viewers don't just listen to a politician, they see a man who genuinely cares about the future of his country, and this inspires them with hope and inspiration.
I got called with the Speaker to ask a question in PMQs. Well, the Prime Minister was not going to answer my direct question in any way at all, and all those Labour MPs screaming and shouting at me, gosh, it felt like being back in the European Parliament. I really rather enjoyed it. But the serious point, of course, and he's right, that with a population that has exploded over the course of the last few years, the previous government did not build enough prison places. But the whole question of early release, I mean, what is the point of a sentence if people are let out after only serving 40% of it? One of the people released from one of the northern prisons yesterday had, wait for it, 109 previous convictions. So that person, I would say, is bound.
Comments like "why can't all politicians be like this" appear on social media. Farage speaks with a clear goal: we need more of these people. These responses highlight the growing dissatisfaction with the current leaders. It is important not only what Farage says, but also how he does it. His composure in difficult times makes him an outstanding figure in this turbulent political climate, and it inspires people to believe in change. If Nigel Farage is admired and inspired, then Keir Starmer, unfortunately, is losing that trust. Farage's critics may argue about his political views, but no one can deny that he genuinely cares about Britain's future. While Starmer is accused of making his decisions seem far removed from people's real needs, many are beginning to doubt his sincerity. It seems that he is more focused on creating a political image than on real actions that could change the lives of citizens for the better. This causes disappointment and discontent among those who expect real changes and concern for the people from the leaders.
Nigel Farage, at PMQs, what would be your first question?
Oh, that'll depend on where we are. I'm guessing by the time of the first PMQs that I get a chance, I'm guessing the boats will be coming across the channel in droves. So I expect it may be around that issue.
You said this was a message to Labour. What is your message directly to Sir Keir Starmer?
My message would be that unless you control immigration, and if you dare take us closely back to the European Union, you will find yourself in 2029 in big electoral trouble. We are now after Labour, make no mistake.
And Clacton, what are your priorities for the local area? What do you want to see in Clacton change?
Money. It needs more tourists, it needs more investment. I haven't promised anything false in this campaign at all. I'd never do that, but I genuinely believe I can help put it on.
The contrast is simply amazing and causes a storm of emotions. While Farage bravely tackles difficult problems and offers clear, specific answers, Starmer often evades difficult questions, leaving people confused. His vague answers are disappointing and call into question his leadership qualities. While Farage is actively addressing the very issues that Starmer seems to be avoiding, many are beginning to wonder, doesn't Starmer feel uncomfortable with how Farage is gaining the public's trust and influence? This frustration is becoming more and more palpable. People need a leader who genuinely cares about their problems. And at the moment, Farage seems to be filling the void that Starmer leaves. Nigel Farage is not just attracting attention, his reformist Britain party is rapidly gaining popularity. With each new election, the party gets more and more seats, which indicates significant changes in the political landscape. For many, this does not come as a surprise. People are tired of the same old promises of the big parties and long for new, fresh leadership. A Reform UK seems to be responding to this request, and it gives hope to those who are looking for change.
Things can only get worse coming from Labour, but that's pretty much what he's been saying. I'm kind of guessing that psychologically, whilst there will be tax rises in the budget, they won't be quite as bad as we currently fear. I think that's the game that he was playing with that sort of, private phrase, we're all doomed speech. But it does actually rather sum up his personality, doesn't it? I mean, he seems to have almost no joy in his heart or humour. There is the sort of slight edge of the authoritarian, which comes to the surface pretty quickly and is certainly manifesting itself, if you believe the leak to the Sun newspaper on outdoor smoking this morning. No honeymoon, no joy, but I think the real thing was the speech yesterday in Germany about populism. Snake oil salesman.
I was going to come to that, yes.
But Farage's leadership has become a real catalyst for change. His amazing ability to communicate with ordinary voters and openly talk about their frustrations is fundamentally changing the situation. He's not just talking about change, he's actively pushing for it here and now. While others are hesitating and getting lost, Reform UK is rapidly gaining popularity, and people are starting to notice it. This powerful surge in support reflects the growing discontent with traditional parties such as Labour and the Conservatives. The growing popularity of Reform UK is clear evidence that voters crave action, not empty excuses. As Farage continues to lead the country, the political establishment is beginning to feel pressure, and it is being felt at every turn. He's not just leading Reform UK, he's doing the job that many people think a Prime Minister should do. In interviews, debates, and public appearances, he boldly raises difficult issues that other leaders prefer to avoid. While Keir Starmer retreats and gets confused, Farage offers clarity and clear direction, inspiring people to believe in change and act. Share your thoughts in the comments. See you.